YouTube, your boy's back. I promise you guys more content, and here we go. I'm gonna try to drop at least 2 to 3 videos a week. Doing some reactions. Plus, I'm dropping shorts from my podcast. Shout out to the boys from Red 4 Studios. We have a podcast that drops every Saturday, I believe, at 10 o'clock around that time. So I'm dropping shorts on this channel too from that podcast. So if you guys can do me a favor and liking, subscribing, and commenting. Today we are reacting to Just Pretty Things. A podcast, I guess, an episode. It's called "They All Disagree with Her When She Mentions Robots Replacing Men." So yet again, we still having this conversation that robots will replace men, which is a dumb conversation to have. But as long as we're having it, I'm gonna react to it. I have not seen this clip before, so this should be fun. Before I start, if you guys can do me a favor and liking, subscribing, and following, I will be dropping way more content this month and this coming for the rest of the year too. I'll be dropping way more content on this page. So, I'm trying to get my channel up. I appreciate the love and the support. Without further ado, guys, let's begin with the reaction.
Today's topic, Hoeflation. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what's Hoeflation? Hoeflation is pretty much the concept that our grandfathers had to work less to get better women versus us who now have to work way harder to get the barely qualified women that our grandmothers were. So our grandfather worked less to get better women. We had to work harder to get women that are less qualified than our grandmothers, that's what's Hoeflation.
So, does anyone know what Hoeflation is? No, you've never heard of this topic. Okay. So this is something that has been going around online that the men have been saying. Modern men have to work 5 times harder than their grandfathers did for women 20 times worse than what their grandmothers were. It's called Hoeflation.
I kind of butchered it, but, you get the general idea.
Do you guys think that's true?
No.
No?
An extraordinary idea. Worse in what way? Better in what way?
I would say worse in that we offer less kids, we're more promiscuous, we're fatter. And
that part is true. That last part about them being fatter is kind of true.
I would just say in general, most people, like a third of us didn't grow up in 2-parent homes, so a lot of us weren't trained or told how to be a wife.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't think being promiscuous makes you necessarily worse, and I think probably
I'm gonna continue.
Fewer children is a good idea.
Oh, less kids is good.
Yeah. I think so, because the world's imploding. So,
the world's. What about the replacement birth rate?
Yeah, well, again, I think less is definitely better than more.
Okay,
yeah.
Who would fill the jobs?
Oh, there's enough of us for that, I'm sure.
Oh,
AI
okay.
as well, also, of course.
Oh, okay.
The robots will do it.
Okay, but what about building the buildings?
Oh, I think...
running the infrastructure. 45% of men are in infrastructure jobs. So.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm sure robots will help with that.
Oh, okay, robots.
Yeah.
All right.
See, that's the concept of a woman. They think that somebody else can solve their problems. Like a man would say, "Oh my gosh, I have a problem. Let me figure out how to solve it." To her, a robot's gonna solve the problem. What robot? Are you gonna be the one to create this robot that's gonna solve this problem with the infrastructure? Then who's gonna do it? It's, to them, somebody else is gonna fix their problems.
Fine.
So F them kids. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, too many.
All right. What about you? Do you think that's true?
Repeat it again, because I'm not going to lie.
Okay, it's all right. I got you. Modern men have to work 5 times harder than their grandfathers did for women 20 times worse than what their grandmothers were.
Yeah, I don't, what even is that? How?
Okay, what do men want?
They want a woman that supports them.
Okay. Do you think women today are more supportive than our grandmothers?
To be honest, I don't know whose grandma was what back in the day.
Okay, what about your grandma?
I know that it all depends on the person that you are.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are
I'm gonna make one caveat for the show. I'm sorry to cut you. I'm gonna let you finish. Okay. I'm gonna say, no, it depends. I'm banning it depends. I'm banned it. We have to pick a side just so we can. This is a conversation in general, not for everyone. So we're just talking about the average man, average woman. But sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Well, now I've been thrown off because I'm just thinking of a bit more of a.
So you said support. You said support, like men want support, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
Do you think women today are more supportive than our grandmothers?
Some of them ain't supportive at all. Some of them want everything handed to them.
Okay.
Without doing anything
Okay.
I wasn't about to swear, but I thought.
So then
let me
you would
just-
agree with this then, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so hard for her to say yes. Oh God,
Yes. To a certain extent.
To a certain
it
extent.
To a
depends
certain
again.
extent.
Okay, go ahead.
I agree.
You agree?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, of course, with inflation and everything, I do believe that men are working 10 times, if not 20 times harder than our grandfathers did. And definitely, as women, we are offering a bit less, especially with the lives we have today.
In what way do we offer less?
We always want less kids because we want a career before we even want to enter marriage.
Smart girl.
By the
Smart
time
girl.
we enter marriage, we don't really have the capacity to bear as many children as the men would.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna stay at a university for the next like 5-7 years, by the time you already have a kid, you'll be 28 years old, and by 30 years old, you lose 90% of your eggs. So you're gonna get less kids just off of that.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I would agree as well
With who?
with the statement.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. The statement. Yeah, because I find that women actually want too much, which is why men have to work harder.
Okay.
True.
Yeah, that's what I'm leaving it.
How do women typically want too much?
Well, not necessarily too much, but they want a lot more now than they wanted back then.
Okay. What do we want today that we didn't want yesterday?
Pretty much everything.
Can we list a couple things? I'll give you one. I don't know if 6 foot was on the table 100 years ago. I don't know if that's what the grandmothers and great grandmothers were like. You need a man that's 6 foot.
They need to drive. They need to have the good job. They need to have the money and the expenses to be able to afford
Make
the
6
woman.
figures.
Okay.
So I feel like that's what a lot of women in
Do you-
today's society want.
Do you think
from a
men?
man.
Do you think men used to have to afford a woman?
No.
You don't
Well,
think
a
so?
little bit, yes, but not as much as. I don't think it was asked for as much
Okay.
as it is now.
You think a woman was more willing to work with a man?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think?
Leading
Well,
questions though.
I'm not sure if it's a correct term to use, Hoeflation. And I also feel like it's been the same. It's just more amplified now because we can see it. Like, for example, if my parents, or let's say my grandparents had an issue, I would never find out. Like, I'm finding out things now what my granddad did after he passed.
It's true.
But now I think things are more transparent. We can see on social media what happened in LA. I think we are sort of easy to get information rather than how it was before. I think women have been the same, and men have also been the same. I think the only difference is we can see it now. The problems have been more magnified than it was back then.
Did your grandma stay with your
Yeah,
grandpa?
he did. Well, she did. Sorry. Yeah, she did.
Do women today stay with their husbands?
Not many, no.
So wouldn't you say it's different?
I think it's different. It's not different as in what the perception of it. My grandmother stayed, but don't mean that she was fully happy with the situation.
Right.
But she committed through it all. But I feel like women lately sort of feel like, why do I need to stay in misery if I can just go and... If I can just capitalize on life itself. Let's say
Right.
my grandmother didn't have that that space or that world to even navigate through freely as a woman to even, just do things for herself. So I guess she felt more dependent.
She couldn't do things for herself?
I mean, not that she couldn't. It's just the world wouldn't allow her to navigate through life as it is now.
They wouldn't allow her to navigate?
Yeah, through life. I say, there's this book I read.
What do you mean allow?
Allow us in, for example, there's this book I read. I think it's called A Thousand Candles in the Sun. I'm not sure, but it's to do with something happening in Afghanistan, where these women weren't allowed to travel without
It's
a man
Afghanistan,
being with
boy.
them. So imagine coming from that world. How are you supposed to leave your husband? You can't even go to the shop without being with a male figure. They won't allow you. You get sent back home.
What was the reason for that law?
I don't know. It's just
Well, because the world
Culturism.
the world used to be a more dangerous place too.
still dangerous now.
Right, but I'm saying like we have institutions that protect women that depending on the time period and where you were in the world didn't always exist, like the police force, like legal systems that could,
agree.
you know what I'm saying? So it was, sometimes we judge like laws of the past by the times of today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know that law. I was just asking.
It's not. I don't think it's a law. I think it's just more culturally.
Right.
This is in Afghanistan. This is a book I read. It
Oh,
happened
okay.
about 1920.
Okay.
Is the girl that wrote the book was actually in the story that she was telling about. I just feel like
Well, when I hear allow, like it sounds like we couldn't work back then and we could.
no, they could work. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, back to you saying that. Did my grandmother stay?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to bring it back. Is maybe if she had
Okay.
the opportunity to go out there and navigate as how women can today,
Right.
who knows? She may have not have stayed.
Okay.
So it's just circumstances. But I feel like the world has always been a bit terrifying.
Yeah, I get what he's saying. He's trying to say that because women didn't know about the options that they stayed through some of these cheating that were happening back in like the 1950s and 1960s. Yeah, nowadays like women have the same options as men. They don't have to stay through. Oh, they're all still getting cheated on, but at the same rate. They all sharing the same guys too, so it doesn't really matter. Nothing really changed.
And for just, I guess, just people not knowing how to stay together. I feel like men have been men and women have been women.
Yeah, men
Just
have
not-
always been men.
Women didn't have
since
the platform
beginning
to
of time.
say what they're saying now.
Okay. So you think women have always been the same? Now they just leave instead,
feel like-
or like
Yeah, I
now
think
they're
so,
it's
too.
just
I
out in the
agree with
public.
him.
Yes, I feel like
Okay.
now we can see more. Like before, we wouldn't know what's happening in someone else's family, but now you've got people filming what's happening in their own household and posting on social media. Or like everyone, I think people have an opinion. You've got someone just laying in his bed at home, could just say whatever, and that'll get to me. Whereby way back, I wouldn't know what he thinks or she thinks. So I'm just stuck in my own little world that I've created for myself, my own perception of the world. But now your perception can be injected by anyone. Someone from Dubai can say something and I can see on Twitter and feel offended. Like, what's this? Whereby before, there's no Twitter, there's no social media, there's no internet. Just live in your own world.
Okay. What do you think?
Well, I actually agree with the statement. And the reason why I agree with the statement is because guys do generally have to work much harder now. And the reason why I feel that they need to work much harder is in terms of inflation. And in terms of inflation in the last 10 years, it's absolutely ridiculous.
years.
There's no chance for young people.
Young people.
And the government just keeps raising inflation. They say they raise the wages, but however, the inflation rises just above the wages. So then a lot more has to go in for them to get a lot out. In terms of women, do they give less? Well, I can't speak for every woman. It depends on how that woman thinks and what her perspective is.
Remember, no, it depends.
So again, I wouldn't pigeonhole every single female. Some females, are gold diggers, and some females are not.
What value do women in 2023 bring? The average chick.
Well, if you're average, I'm not sure about the average, but however, I was brought up in a way where we were raised to support our men and to stand beside our men. So they may not have had a lot, but you would support them in their endeavours or their dreams, etc. And you'd be that backbone towards their goals or their dreams, etc.
Do you think most women do that?
I can't speak for most women, but
So-
for what I've seen, for the females that are around me, no, they don't.
I didn't say that.
So yeah, especially with like half of how can we say we're supportive if half of us leave? You know what I mean?
I think in terms of leaving,
It's like because it's like you if you're gonna support, you got to stay and support him. You know.
again, I know you say you don't like the word depends, but however, I wouldn't recommend for someone to stay in an abusive relationship.
It's always abuse.
So if someone's being
Why is abusive?
abusive,
Why is abusive the first thing that comes to your
It's
head?
always abuse.
because I'm not saying that's the first thing.
It's the
but
first
however,
thing you said.
Yeah, but I've known women that have left from relationships
what?
because of.
Guys, this is getting long. I'm like, keep doing this thing. Thank you for the support, guys. Please check out the original video. It's on her channel. I'm gonna link it to the description too, because I don't want to be one of those people that just simply watch somebody else's content and not like show them some love and some support. This has been a reaction. Deuces, guys.